Hello, welcome back. More than 800 police officers have been forced to take sick leave since the start of the pandemic after testing positive for Covid-19. Data from the PA news agency's radar service shows 849 officers across 24 of the UK's 45 forces have tested positive for the virus. Well, the Police Federation has described officers' constant worry when faced with offenders who may spit, bite and cough as they're dealt with. Let's get more reaction to this now. I'm joined by the chair of the Police Federation of England and Wales, John Apter. Morning to you. Thank you for your time today. Of course, these figures don't show the full extent of what's going on, do they? Given that only around half of police forces put in figures.
Absolutely. Good morning, Nick. Yeah, I actually thought the figures, you may be surprised I say this, were quite low because, look, my colleagues are, professional, dedicated individuals, but they're human beings. They are as susceptible to this virus as anybody else, and maybe more so because of the type of work that they're doing. Sometimes they're very up close and personal with individuals. That's unavoidable within policing. But also, as you rightly say, we have seen during this pandemic period, this highly contagious virus has been weaponised by some. And we've seen a 74% increase in those who spit and cough at police officers during the first lockdown period. So it doesn't surprise me that my colleagues are contracting this horrible virus. And yes, I expect the figure is very much higher.
Do officers go out routinely in masks? I'm thinking especially they're going to get close if they're making arrests. Are they without face coverings then?
Well, they're issued face coverings, they have the hand sanitisers, the hand gel, and they're given all of the advice that we can give. But look, the reality of policing is sometimes it's impractical or impossible to apply the PPE in some circumstances, not all. And, we, as the body who looks after, represents our colleagues, those police officers, will say wherever you can, you must wear the PPE because it protects you and it protects others. But it's not always practical. It's not always practical. And that's the issue. That's the problem. And our colleagues are not wearing some high level of PPE that's not available to members of the public. They're wearing basic PPE, what's advised by the health professionals, but they're still vulnerable. And we're seeing that.
Is this PPE sufficient then for their needs?
I think as we've worked through this pandemic and things have changed, because very early on in the pandemic, let's not forget, nobody was advised to wear a mask. It was not seen as being necessary. That's changed, and rightly so. And so is the style of policing, and so is the way that officers have been deployed. Police officers have always been very aware of the impact of this virus, because what might not have been seen in those early days of the true devastating impact where people were dying, certainly within their home environments, my colleagues were dealing with that. They were having to deal with the families, deal with, unfortunately, the mortuaries that were stacking up. So they were very much aware of the impact of this virus. And yes, they do wear the PPE. But as I say, sometimes it's just simply not practical. And that's not my colleagues, being irresponsible. It's just about them having to be dynamic and reacting sometimes to things that they're faced with. But yeah, I think the PPE that's been issued so far with the health guidance that we've been given is suitable. Of course, we would like more. There is no PPE shortage for police officers. There was, but we fought hard against that. And our colleagues from the National Police Chiefs Council listened, they acted. The PPE is available, but it's not always practical to have it on in those close encounter situations.
And how you feel certain members of the public are exploiting officers simply because of their profession?
Absolutely, without doubt. And, it's a small but toxic element of society who will always take advantage of any situation. And what we have seen is these vile, disgusting creatures who have weaponised this virus. And it's a deadly virus. We know that. It's fact. And these individuals will spit and cough in the face of my colleagues, and they will say, many, many times this has happened, I have the COVID virus, I hope you catch it, I hope you and your families die from it. That's the sort of thing that my colleagues have to deal with on a daily basis. And as I say, for that type of offence to have increased by 74% during the first lockdown period just shows you some of the vile individuals that we do have to deal with.